Hello, Cosmic Family, and welcome. It's been a minute, but it's good to be back. If you're new here, I'm Charlie. If you're coming back, I'm so glad that you're back. And I'm glad that I'm back to share messages with you. Energetically, we're sort of in this calm before the storm. I'll come back to this in a little bit. But first, I wanted to come back to the basics, to the things that we speak about in this channel, which is spirituality on both a personal level, but also a greater consciousness level, meaning not just concerning us as individuals, but also the state of this beautiful planet that we're living in. And the reason why I do that is because awakening and ascension is a twofold process. It is very much an individual process first and foremost. But then once we get to a level of clarity and inner orderliness, we cast our vision outside of ourselves and we really start to notice what's happening in the world out there, but with a new level of clarity. And when we do that, when we really truly have a certain level of awakening within us, not only do we become interested in the world out there and what's happening, but we do so from a different place, from a place of unreactiveness, from a place of observing for the truth. And not just the truth that can be molded to our own preferences, a personal truth, but a greater universal truth. The greater universal truth is something that has been in the minds of the greatest thinkers that have lived on this planet, because it's not so easy to sort out. And I hate to admit it, but in this world of New Age spirituality, there are so many half-truths and so many lie truths, not real universal truths that are passed on as universal truths, in order to comfort the people who aren't really willing to face what this existence is really about, and what it means not only to be a self-serving individual, but a member of a society that is moving towards ascension, that is moving towards awakening. And when I speak about ascension, I'm not speaking from a religious perspective. I know ascension is a big word in Christianity, but I'm speaking from a broader spiritual perspective. One that encompasses not just a particular religion, but all religions and the core of what they're trying to steer people towards. There's a lot of pettiness in our day-to-day lives. There's a lot of pettiness in the world around us. So how can we move from a place of ego and pettiness to a place of positive expansion and awakening and ascension and upliftment? Is it really possible? It is really possible, but it is not something that we can wait on. And what do I mean by this? There's this idea that's spread around in New Age spirituality or in certain circles that ascension is just something that's going to happen when a certain being comes down or when the ships land. And the truth is, it's not how it works. These particular beings that we're speaking about, they're waiting on us. They're waiting on us to do the work required to wake up. They're waiting on us to do the work required to unplug from the matrix and to see the truth, and then to live not just, as I mentioned, in this self-serving way of it's about me, and what can I manifest, more things in my life and more people in my life. Instead, it's about seeing the truth, living the truth, and then looking at the world out there and saying, what can I contribute to the betterment of society? What can I contribute to the awakening of more people? Not from a place of greed, because that's exactly what's brought the planet to a place where it is right now, right? We are dominated by so-called leaders that are driven by greed. They want more. They want more control. They want more resources. They want to control where these resources go to. and they believe what is right for us. And the reason why that has happened is because most people are asleep. Most people never really think of what is really good for them. And the reason why this happens is because of how we are trained in our families, in our institutions that are supposed to be there to teach us. And this is because of convenience, because it's a lot more convenient to have a group of sheep that you tell them what is good and bad for them and steer them in the direction that you want. And thus, you're not bothered. You have these obedient beings, right? But in order for us to really awaken, in order for us to really ascend, whether it is on a personal level and on a greater planetary level, we need to be constantly vigilant. But this vigilance is not driven by fear. It's not driven by their fight or flight response, right? It's driven by a state of inner harmony. But this is a tall order, I know. It is not so easy to do the work required to achieve a level of clarity, which is why so much of New Age spirituality is just cluttered with these unhealthy ideas that keep people in the same place where they were at, spinning the same wheels. But now, their minds, instead of just daily pettiness, it's filled with other ideas that keep them just as blind, but maybe it just tastes a little bit better, right? The lies taste a little bit better than they did before. So, right now, we are in the calm before the storm. As I had mentioned, because so much of human life is dominated by leaders that believe they know what is good for us, is that they have certain things in place to want to steer us in a certain direction. And so it's a kind of soft war on people. And every so often, there are certain events that seem organic, but they are orchestrated in order to train us to behave in a certain way. Now you might say, well, Charlie, why is this relevant if we are speaking about spirituality? Well, because we cannot speak about spirituality on a personal level unless we're aware of what's happening in the world out there, because it's intertwined. And I feel especially called to do this because, as some of you know, I was born in a communist country that did not allow any kind of spiritual or religious practice. And you might say, well, how is that even possible? Because it's a very personal thing. Well, you train people so well that they don't even think about it. They are so frightful of practicing a certain thing that they don't do it. I mean, it's still happening in parts of the world. Now, I'm not saying this is where we are headed in the Western world, but we have to be aware of the lessons that we listen and that we take in, even when it comes to so-called or from so-called spiritual teachers, because not all of them are driven by the universal truth of Source. All right? And there is a movement in the Western world that's pushing people towards this more satanic way of being. What that really means is the false light, right? What's the false light? Well, exactly what it means, which is something that sounds like it's real, but it's false, right? You move towards this light. When you get there, it's just darkness, all right? And so we have to become aware of this, even in our own personal path. And the best way that I found to do this on your own personal path is to strip yourself away of a lot of information, a lot of teachings, and get to the core of the truth. And really investigate what that is, all right? Even if it's uncomfortable, even if it tastes bitter in the moment, all right? Because to discover the truth is really a wonderful thing. And it's very much tied to joy and well-being. But oftentimes we've been trained to work against ourselves. And so we won't even know what this joy and well-being is until we work past the BS. All right. So that's what I'm going to leave you with. There's a lot to unpack here, and I'm going to continue on this in future videos. But I want to hear from you. What have you been up to? What are some of the BS that you've let go of recently? What is some truth that you've come to realize? I really look forward to connecting with you again. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like and follow and all that good stuff. And I look forward to connecting with you again soon.